Welcome back to Nifty Garage. I'm Vince. Today we're going to be showing you guys how to replace the rear main seal on your DE. This is a long-awaited video. We've had plenty of comments and people asking for us to do it. It's a little different on the DE compared to the VQ35HR or the VHR. Keep in mind, if you are buying your rear main for your DE, sometimes this pan seal is sold separately, so make sure you grab this and replace it at the same time you're doing your rear main. And let's get into this video. Alright, so the rear main on our VQ35DE is pretty straightforward. Basically, we're going to be dropping our lower oil pan so that we can access the inner bolts of our upper oil pan. We don't have to remove our timing cover or anything else. We will remove our flex plate or a flywheel. It doesn't matter if you're auto or manual, it's going to be the same process. But if you want to come around here, I'll show you. When we drop our upper oil pan, we are going to be interfering with these two half-moon gaskets. Don't worry about the timing cover, you will not have to remove it. I have it removed because we were doing gallery gaskets on this motor, and customer also opted in for a rear main seal. So these half-moons will sit here at the front and the rear, and they sit against the timing cover, as well as the rear timing cover in the back, or the upper block. Pick these seals up, both of them, because they are going to get removed from the timing cover and on the rear. All right, if you need to get to this point that I'm at, we have the link to the video in the description for how to remove the transmission from your VQ35DE. And once you watch that video, you get your trans out and you're at this point, don't worry about the motor being out of the car. Just get it up on jack stands, get the trans off. Once you're at this point, we're good to go. All right, step one of doing your rear main seal, we are gonna drain all the oil out of our motor, considering we're taking off both pans. So I've already done that. Go ahead and drain your oil, and then after the oil is drained, we are going to zip all of our 10 mils out of our lower pan and get our lower pan out of the way. Alright, the next two things we are going to remove are our baffle that covers our pickup tube. You have 5 7mm bolts. We're going to zip those off, and then our pickup tube is 2 12mm bolts, and we're going to take that off as well. Alright, now inside of our upper oil pan, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 12s we're going to remove. Alright, next I'm going to want to get coolant line off. That cools down our, it's basically our oil cooler. So this upper line is going to get removed as well as the lower one, just so we can swing everything out of our way. So when we drop our pan, we're not letting it hang. You are going to lose a good amount of coolant, so make sure you have a bucket underneath. That's why I like using my cart when I'm doing this. And remember, don't come in here with a pair of pliers trying to rip on these hoses, because you don't want to have to go to AutoZone and grab a new hose, or stop by Sac City and get one that's perfect every time. So this line will be here with this 10 mil, take the 10 mil out, let the hose hang. What I like to do is plug the hose, just so it's not leaking all over the floor, and then I can just hang it off the side so that this pan will come straight down and not get jammed up on any lines or anything. Now we're at the rear. We're going to go ahead and take our flex plate off. Got 14s around the whole thing, and it'll come right off. Make sure you're putting a lot of pressure into this. The last thing you want to do is strip one of these bolts out. Keep this ring. Wiggle your flex plate off. It should come off relatively easy. This one happened to have a bolt hiding behind it. It's a good thing we took that off. So on your flex plate, as well as your spacer, you notice that there's a little hole here and a little hole here. On your crankshaft, you have a little pin, a dowel pin that hangs off. When you put this back on, you want to make sure that it is aligned over this dowel as well as this. Otherwise, you're going to run into a lot of issues. So keep that in mind when you're putting it back on. Now that we've got all our inner upper pan bolts, we're going to go ahead and move to our outers and get every single one of them. And they are all 12 mils. All right, so now we are ready to remove our upper oil pan, and the way we're gonna do it is hammer in a flathead and basically pry our upper pan down. It is silicone to the block. There are two little spots you can do this from. It's right next to the dowel. There's a gap here as well on the other side, and here's the gap on the other side right next to this dowel. Go ahead and grab a buddy if you want to. I don't like letting this pan fall, or in case it falls, I like having somebody here to hold it while I pry from both sides. All right, we're loose on that side. All right, so now that our upper pan is removed, we can work on our rear main as well as our half moon. And this is exactly why I said if it doesn't come with your rear main, go ahead and order both, just so we can do them all at the same time. And we'll show you how to remove this rear main. All right, couple things I want to talk about now that we have our upper pan off. There are a few things you need to be aware of. So we have two gaskets here, O-rings. These ones are pretty flat. We're gonna want to replace those, but I don't like reusing any O-rings. If you can see the comparison on these, one is very flat and the other is still oval. So we want to upgrade to some brand new O-rings, as well as our dipstick. We have had a car come in that instead of fitting this dipstick back through the hole that it's supposed to go through, they've actually pinched right here and pinched the dipstick in between the upper pan and the block so that they could not remove their dipstick anymore. So whatever you want to do, either you're making sure it's going through this hole or you're just removing it, go ahead and do one of the two so that you ensure that you do not pinch this in your upper pan. We have now accessed our rear main seal. We already took our half moon out. Now we're just going to take these 3 10 mils out. Now I'm going to grab a little pry bar and just pry this rear main off of our block. That is how you remove your rear main from your VQ35DE. Now we're going to show you guys how to replace it. All the little big pieces of RTV you can take off now, whatever comes off. Now we're going to wire wheel all around here so that we can RTV the back of our gasket right here, and as well as here before we put our upper pan back on. All right, this area is prepped for us to put our rear main back on. But before we do that, we're just gonna prep our block and our upper oil pan for reseal. We're gonna go ahead and wire wheel our upper pan as well as our block. And then I will show you guys how to get into these little grooves. I got a little trick for that. All right, now after you wire wheeled your upper pan, you'll notice that all of these grooves still have RTV in them. If you have a drill bit kit, I use the 5/64 for the upper pan. You can get away with running 1/16, but the 5/64 is just a little bit bigger. I like the 1/8 for, or the 1/16 for the timing covers. Go ahead and throw your bit in your drill. Now the key is you don't want to sit here and dig into the pan. You just barely want it to float in, and we're going to come in on one side and then back on the other side, and you'll see how easy it takes this off. Now we got all that RTV out of our little groove. This is what works best for me. If you got another way of doing it, do it your way. I'm not telling you how to do it. Just get the RTV out, and then once we finish this whole pan, we're gonna move up to our block and get all the silicone off of that. Come by Sac City, get yourself some busted grimes, and we're gonna hit this whole pan, get it nice, wipe it down with a rag so we got no oil anywhere, and then we'll prep our block for seal. All right, now that the upper side of our upper pan is clean, we're gonna move it to the side so that we can get our block done. And notice I said upper side because our lower side for our lower oil pan is still dirty, but we'll worry about that once it's actually up because I don't wanna flip this thing over and get the top contaminated. Keep in mind that when you're spinning your wire wheel, you're flinging it in a clockwise rotation. So if you hit it this way or this way, you're throwing everything sideways and not actually into your crank. So that's the way I'm gonna knock this down, just to save some cleanup time. All right, so one thing I'm gonna do is remove my baffling now that I've cleaned off all of the RTV. Before I brake clean, I wanna make sure I didn't get any RTV in here. So it's very easy, a couple 10 mils, should be 6 of them. Now, even as careful as I was doing this, we still have RTV on top of our baffle, which can get stuck on our pickup tube or end up wrapping itself around a cam, or a crank, sorry. So we're gonna go ahead and clean all this up. Now that we can see everything better, we're gonna clean all of our surface off of our block and then prep to throw our rear main on and our upper pan. All right, now that we have all of our surfaces cleaned, we can throw our baffle back on that we've taken all of our possible RTV out that we could have dropped in here. So this thing is only gonna go on one way. You want your open spot in the back, and then you want your drains to show. There's actually an arrow on the top side that will point forward, showing you forward towards the motor. We're ready to put our rear main on. We are going to RTV in these grooves all the way around, and keep in mind when you're RTVing, you don't need to go above the bolt because you're allowing, or you're only trying to allow oil to stay in here. So go under every bolt. I'll show you when I lay the bead, and then we can put the sucker on. This is what you want your RTV line to look like. We got both ears and we're on the inside of every bolt all the way around following our lines. Now we can place this on. Be careful going around your crank. We're gonna feed that gasket around like so. Make sure we are all the way in on both dowels, and then we can throw our 3 10 mils in, and we are done with our rear main install. Now it's time to throw our upper pan back in and get that sandwiched together. Before we put our upper pan back in, do not forget about these O-rings. I'm gonna put these in here. All right, so now we're gonna be installing our upper pan. So we're gonna throw RTV around the entire thing. Do not RTV these holes that we put gaskets on our block for. This is for the oil pickup or our filter. Make sure you go in every groove, and you're going to want to stay on the inside of every bolt because you don't want oil seeping into the bolt and leaking. And our last step is to silicone. All right, so now we're ready to throw our upper pan back on. All right, so we have our upper pan on our alignment dowels. So now we're just gonna zip 2 12s in, or 1 12 per side actually. Just so we can sandwich it together. Now we're gonna throw all of the rest of our 12s into our upper pan. And you do want to keep an eye on that little half moon back here and make sure that it's installed correctly, which it is. Now we can finish putting all our hardware back in. When installing these, make sure we're going in a crisscross pattern. Going to keep alternating sides. All right, now we have to do our inner bolts on our upper pan. Now ensure that you have no RTV on the top of your bolts, because you can crack the block very easily doing that. All right, you guys are going to be installing your last 2 bolts on your timing cover because you didn't remove it. And it's perfect because your half moon is already sandwiched against your timing cover right now on the front. I'm not, because I have not cleaned my timing cover yet. Like I said, I'm doing gallery gaskets also. But as far as the rear main seal, you guys are almost done. I will show you guys how to clean the bottom of your upper pan as well as your oil pan, sandwich that together, put your oil pickup tube back on your baffle, and we'll be concluding this video. I do not want to put our pickup tube or our baffle in just yet because we are going to be cleaning the surface of the bottom of our upper pan. Get your Y wheel back out, go ahead and hit your pan, also hit your oil pan. We want this mating surface clean as well as this mating surface clean. And once we have our surfaces prepped and ready, then I will clean the inside of our upper pan one more time for any RTV that went in there. And then we're going to install our pickup tube, our baffle, and seal everything back together. So I've cleaned the bottom of my upper pan. I've wire wheeled the lower pan. Just going to get all this RTV out of here. Now the reason I'm cleaning all this before I put the pickup tube and the baffle in here, because I don't want to fill the pickup tube full of RTV flying around. I want to ensure that I have a clean surface before I do any of that. Always wipe the surface before you lay RTV. We're gonna wipe our upper pan down with brake clean. I'm gonna come over to my lower pan, do the same thing. All right, now that all of my surfaces are prepped and clean, I can throw in my pickup tube. And this thing cannot be placed this way. It will not work with the pan. So you want to angle down towards the back. There's no gasket on this. It's just mates right up to the oil pump. Our little baffle for a pickup tube, remember it's going to be those 5 7mm bolts. Looking at our baffle, this is going to be our bottom side because we have the edge right here. And we want a flat mating surface up to the actual top of our upper pan. This only goes on one way. It's going to be this way with the skinny part forward. All right, our baffle's in. Our mating surfaces are clean. Now one last time, we're gonna brake clean both surfaces. You want them to be as clean as possible before you lay RTV. And remember, stay on the inside of your bolt holes. All right, and now we're able to put our lower pan to our upper pan. I like to get these threads started a little bit. And then I know we're lined up and I can sandwich this lower pan up and go grab the rest of my bolts. The last thing we need to do, the last thing we need to do to finish up this job is reconnect our lines, our coolant lines for our oil cooler. Don't forget about the 10mm we removed from the front. And we're done. That's going to sum up this video on how to replace the rear main seal on your VQ35DE. If you guys want to see any other DE content, HR, VHR, VR content, let us know in the comment section below on what you want to see next. Don't overcomplicate the rear main. It's not as stressful as it may look in the video. Just take it step by step, and this is your end result. You got a new rear main. Hope this helped.